Hello and welcome back to my channel. Yes, there is a theme today. It is the purity culture. I highly suggest you go watch the video that I just did on God is Grace. She is wonderful and I really like her channel and I think that you should definitely give it a look. I will link it down below in this video and in the video where I review one of her videos. Now we're going to review a video by Paul and Morgan and girlDefined. I ask that you don't send girlDefined or Paul and Morgan any hate. Their videos do not need to be reported, although they are gross and they annoy me, and I think they teach a bad lesson. They have every right to their platform. They're not teaching hate. They're not doing like the NIFB and teaching hate speech. They're just voicing their opinion, and I am here to give you an alternative. So let's jump into the first clip of Paul and Morgan and the girlDefined collab that they did a couple weeks ago, and let's just see where this goes. Okay.
And kind of your background. Can you just kind of share with us a little bit about your journey before you met Paul?
Yeah, so before I met Paul, I was in a 3.5-year long relationship with a guy who was not really walking with the Lord. I knew God, my heart was for him, but I just kind of went down the wrong path and continued to stray down that path with this guy. And I lost my virginity to him, and it was just a battle of me feeling completely hopeless, worthless, terrible, guilty, just all of the bad things I felt about myself. And when I first met Paul, on our first date, he was just kind of telling me, it was very clear, he didn't even have to tell me, it was very clear that he was pure, he was saving himself for his wife, and I just immediately was like, this guy is not going to want anything to do with me. Like, I had repented, I had turned from that sin and, totally started over, but I just knew and felt like he just wasn't going to want anything to do with me, and that was not the case. Here we are, 3 years later.
Yeah, so what happened? Because I think a lot of girls, for any of us who've made past mistakes, and we're like, I've made this mistake, I don't think that God could ever forgive me, or if God forgives me, I don't think an earthly guy who's following the Lord is ever going to be able to forgive me, ever going to be able to look past that and say, yes, there's forgiveness, there's redemption, there's restoration. This woman is whole in Christ. And so, Paul, how was that for you? I mean, really having that gospel lens to see Morgan from that perspective of redemption.
Yeah, absolutely. I think different men are going to have different levels of grace on. I do think it is a struggle for some men that perhaps have really been desiring purity, and then they start dating a woman and they hear that. It could be challenging for them. I will start out by saying, though, that every godly man needs to be able to forgive, and needs to be able to say, oh my goodness, like God has wiped you white as snow if you've asked for forgiveness, and I will too. But it still can be challenging for men. And I have guys message me on Instagram saying, I've kept myself pure and now I'm dating this girl and she just told me that, she lost her virginity and that's really difficult for me. And my response is, yeah, forgive them, don't hold it against them. But that could be something that it sticks with you and it's just really hard to get past. And I don't mean to prolong that aspect, because for me, Morgan shared that with me. She was very real, very open on our very first date. And she shared it with me. And I just had grace to be like, she isn't who she used to be. She's, asked God for forgiveness and she's in a different place. Like, come on, I forgive you. Your heart is for the Lord. I'm not going to look back. Let's go. So it was really good. It was the best first date that I had ever had.
I think that's so encouraging and really cool, because I'm sure there are other stories like that out there,
And here is prime example of where they get really bad and where they do things that it drives me crazy. Morgan talks about how she wasn't pure when she met Paul and how she was afraid that he wouldn't want her, that she basically described herself as less than, undesirable, broken, and dirty. And no, you are not, and I can't believe I have to keep saying this in this day and age. If you have had sex, you are not broken, you are not dirty, you are not less desirable. That is not the case. Just because you've had sex does not mean that you are undeserving of love or that you are dirty. And then he goes on to talk about how every man has to have forgiveness. She doesn't need your forgiveness, dude. Seriously, if you love her for who she is, past and all. You don't freaking need to forgive her. It wasn't done to you. She didn't do anything to you. She didn't do anything against you. She was in a relationship. She did what normal people do when they're in a relationship, and she doesn't need your forgiveness. And to imply that she needs your forgiveness implies that your wife, the woman that you love, is dirty and wrong. And I don't understand how that is healthy or correct or loving in any way, shape, or form. But that's just me. Like I said, if you are saving yourself for marriage, that is fine too. I have no judgment whether you are saving yourself for marriage, or you're out there having a good old time at an orgy. I don't care, and neither should the person that you're with. This whole women are dirty if they are unpure or if they've had sex, and then men aren't it is not considered the same for men, and that's ridiculous. Either way, man or woman, you are deserving of love no matter what.
Questions, because that's something that girls want to know. Like, okay, wait, go there a little bit more. Morgan, how did you approach that topic? And in your experience now, in wisdom, having now y'all have been married for a while, can you give us some insight? Like, when would be a good time to have that conversation? and how to go about it a little bit.
Well, so I was in the mindset of like, okay, I'm tired of like meeting these guys, thinking that, you know, they're super godly and great and whatever. And then, you know, they might find out. I had, right before I met Paul, I was kind of talking to a guy, and I ended up, after like several weeks of talking to him, I told him that I was not a virgin, and but that I repented, I was a new creation.
Yeah.
And he kind of was like, oh, and just like left. That like really hurt me.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, fine. Next guy I like talk to or whatever, I'm just gonna tell him the first date because I'm not taking that anymore. I'm like,
Hey, that makes sense. Yeah.
Spicy.
so I was like, I'm not getting emotionally attached, and then all of a sudden he crushes me. So we started, you know, we were on our first date, and I was like, okay, here I go. I'm gonna tell him everything. And
Okay, so Morgan talks about how she was with this guy for a couple of weeks and she didn't tell him that she wasn't a virgin, and how he eventually shamed her and walked away. And that seems to be the biggest problem with purity culture, is that you are less valuable if you are not a Christian, pure as white snow, virgin that never thinks impure. And they tend to forget that women are sexual beings. We like sex just as much as men do. And to put that strictly on the woman and then to shame her, and I'm sorry this happened to you, Morgan. I really am. We do not agree on anything doctrine wise. I'm an atheist for starters, and for second, I don't believe in your strict set of purity rules or how you we disagree on a lot of things. But you should have never been shamed, and I'm sorry that someone made you feel less than or unlovable or any of that. I know how that feels. It's not a good feeling, and no one should ever make you feel that way. It's sad. It's sad that people feel that way. It's sad that in this day and age people still think that. It's sad that abstinence only is taught in schools and is encouraged. It's sad that it's pushed in churches. It's sad. It's pointless, and we all know that abstinence only doesn't work. It does work for a few, but for the many it doesn't, and then we end up feeling like we are less than, and that can take years to get over. So I'm going to keep reiterating this through all of my videos. You are loved. No matter whether you've had sex here or there or whatever, you are lovable. You are worth love. You are a valuable person. And please don't ever forget that.
Sex Praying the Longings of a Girl's Heart early on is we talk about this idea that in some way or another, we all have sexual brokenness, right? Like we've all sinned in some way sexually, even if it's just like a lust in our minds or something that we act out on, we're all sexually broken. And so the reality is there isn't this camp of impure people and pure people. And so just thinking of purity, one of the things that we're constantly coming back to is this idea that we've all made mistakes, but purity isn't so much of a destination. Like I've arrived, now I am perfectly pure, but it's a journey. And every single day for any one of us, regardless of what we've done in the past, we can say, Lord Jesus, today, would you help me to walk in a way that's pure? So it's more of a journey of a sanctification and more of a heart of purity, not so much like I'm looking pure on the outside. Okay, I've arrived, I'm pure. So for you guys, as you're on that journey, does purity stop once you get married? Are you like perfectly pure once you get married, or is it a journey you continue on?
It's a journey you continue on. You have to really be in the Word of God and let Him let the Word wash over you. I think of the Pharisees who put so much weight in. It really turned into pride for them. I am keeping all the rules. I'm so pure, but God looks at the heart.
I mean, just because you're married doesn't mean that lustful thoughts go away all of a sudden, or the desire to look at porn goes away. You know, like God has blessed our marriage, and that we have not struggled with any of that stuff. For the most part, like I mean, I could see myself, you know, watching a movie and being like, oh, that guy's cute, and then like
I've made a rule: we only watch PG movies in our house.
well,
I'm just kidding.
we do both have to be very careful with what we're watching as a married couple. You know, we do want to be careful that we're not watching some rated R movies that are all about sex and just, you know, showing these women that are dressed very provocatively.
Careful not to watch any of those that are full of sex.
Well, yeah, all the movies that are full of sex.
Some of them, maybe not all of them.
All of them.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. I know that's something that I think was not surprising, but it's something that I don't think we think about. I do.
Okay, so now we get into Kristen and Bethany talking from girlDefined, and I'm not sure which girl is which, to be perfectly honest. I don't watch enough of their videos, and I probably know their names as I watch more of their videos. I've read their book, and I intend to review it. But, where they talk about everybody is sexually impure. There isn't a pure and an impure category, and I actually happen to agree, but very differently. I don't think that if you've had sex, you are impure. If you haven't had sex, you are impure, or you are pure. I think that we are human beings. I think that sex is a very normal thing, and it's perfectly acceptable either way. It doesn't make you less than if you've had sex or haven't had sex, or if you've had impure thoughts. They try to use this thing called sexual brokenness, and it makes me so mad. If you've had thoughts, that's normal, especially if you're a teenager. And, you know, your hormones are raging, and you think about sex, and you want to have sex, and you imagine kissing a boy or a girl or whatever it is that you're interested in. That is not wrong. That is human nature. That is the way that we were biologically designed. I don't want to say designed because that gives the whole, like, created thing. Evolved, I don't know better words. It's just how we are. That is the way our body works, and we are not expected, or our brains are not wired that way to not think about sex. So I mean, you are not impure or sexual brokenness if you think about sex or you want sex, and it's not a bad thing to do. And then they talk about having impure thoughts during marriage. I look at the guys sometimes and I'm like, oh, he's good looking. David Tennant. I just finished watching the first season of Jessica Jones. I'm sitting there going, David Tennant's freaking hot. I'm not ashamed of that. He's hot. I'll tell my husband, David Tennant's hot. He knows I think he's hot. He knows I've had a thing for him since he was in Doctor Who. That's just is what it is. That is how my brain works. I find him attractive. I find nothing wrong with that. I find nothing wrong with being open about it. There is no such thing as sexual brokenness. You are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you if you think someone's cute, or you've had sex, or whatever it is. Oh God, that mosquito was getting me. Or whatever it is that they want to push on you and force you into thinking that you are wrong or whatever. You are not broken. You are not less than. You are still lovable. And I am so tired of hearing people preach that you are less than and you need forgiveness for having, a sex life. That's not how this works. Life, that's just human beings. And this has been going on since the beginning of human beings. I don't care what people try to teach you that back in the olden days, well, I'm going to go with the olden days, but back in like my ex's mother tried to teach all the time that when she was a kid, no one was having sex and no one was having babies. And then someone from this church actually like saved my being by telling me that, yeah, people were having sex. It's just that when they got pregnant, the girls would be shipped off somewhere for 9 months to go with their aunt or whatever, and that made me feel so much better because in my mind I'm like, what is so different about today that I can't remain pure and pure thoughts when people that just like my parents' generation can remain pure and all this other stuff. That's not how it worked. People were having sex, and the more I learned about it, the more I can go all the way back to like Tudor times and learn that especially with nobility, women would carry kids, they'd have their son, and then they could go have another partner. People have had sex from the beginning of time. It is a very natural thing, and for them to try to shame you, it is completely wrong. Once again, you are not sexually broken. girlDefined and Paul and Morgan and try to push this narrative, and I completely disagree with it. And I think that it's dangerous because it leads to kids sneaking around having sex, kids not using condoms, kids getting STIs and STDs, and getting pregnant because like one of the things that I was taught was condoms are ineffective. I know people that are pregnant as teenagers that have kids now that are like all close to like 14, 15 because they were 14, 15 and they didn't understand that condoms were effective. Luckily, my mother didn't subscribe to that, and she did teach me about condoms and birth control and all of that stuff, and I'm eternally grateful for the fact that she went against my family's, the rest of my, like, her siblings and stuff's wishes on teaching purity and all that other stuff, and she taught me appropriately so that I was prepared. I'm eternally grateful for that, and I wish more parents would branch outside of that, but that is a conversation for a different day. I will see you later.